Welcome to Home Sweet Home. Hey, my name's Rod McCall.
And I'm Bryce Runke.
We are on our second episode of our podcast specifically developed for parents and kids.
Home Sweet Home. We believe that home should be a place of peace and comfort. You know, it should be a place where loved ones engage, respect, accept, and embrace each other. In other words, a place you actually enjoy being.
Our primary goal here is to help families create an environment where understanding one another leads to healthier and hopefully happier connections.
So here's our mission: to equip families with tools to better relate and thrive in their relationships with one another.
Today, our goal is to address a very complicated issue, one that affects so many families, including Bryce and I, and that is the topic of divorce. I have a very good friend of mine that lives out in California, and he says that marriage, well, how about this? Divorce is to end the marriage. It is not to end the family.
Right. So today, our hope is to leave you with 4 points as we dig deeper into this this topic, specifically from an adult's perspective, and how to manage the process through divorce. And so we hope today that through today you gain some tools, again, to better manage that, and we hope to leave you with some powerful truths regarding divorce.
It's not going to be the end-all, be-all of the issue. We're going to scratch the surface, but we're going to focus on some topics that Bryce and I have learned through our own experiences, as well as working with, other adults. I've been with a group here in the Dallas area for over 10 years. And so a lot of our experience comes from that, like I say, our experiences, as well as working with others, knowing so many people who have gone through divorce. And I think the first thing we want to stress is leave kids out of it.
Yeah. So like Rod said, our first point today is, again, leave the kids out of it. I think it's paramount that, we are communicative with our kids, the ex-spouse, that for sure. But we don't share too much. I think it's important to not share too much. I think it's you need to be appropriate with what you share and what you communicate.
Yeah, having my ex communicate through my son was kind of silly. You got an issue, talk to me. And, you don't need to share a ton with the kids. Again, talk to me. You got an issue. You want to talk about visitation schedule. You want to, something's come up. You want to make a change, an adjustment. You know what? Just talk to me. And talk to me with, rational approach. Don't say, well, this is what I'm going to do. And if you don't do what I'm going to say, then we're going to court. Look.
Right.
You're an adult. I'm an adult. Be an adult. Talk to me. Don't talk to our kids. Leave them out of it to the best of our ability. They're going to be involved because they're our kids.
Right. I sadly there was things that I communicated with my son that I didn't need to communicate with him. Like you said, oversharing. I think for me there was a lot of anger. There was a lot of bitterness. There was a lot of resentment. And so I think when you're going through this, you're not operating at the level that you should be. A mature level. At least I could speak to that, because that's how I felt like sometimes that's how I operated. Because I'll be honest with you, I was bitter. I was upset. I was depressed. I was sad, man. I was lonely. And, that communication piece wasn't really effective for both of us.
Anger is a big part.
Yeah.
When you're going through the divorce, you're going, man, I have just been rejected by someone that I used to love, someone that I loved so much that I couldn't imagine my life without him. And now suddenly we're yelling and screaming and arguing with each other. And so, yeah, you want people to join on your side. That's why you tell your family all the horrible things that person did.
Oh, yeah.
Conveniently leaving out your side. And one of the things that does tend to happen all too often is that you want the kids to side with you and feel your anger and hostility to the other parent. But, that's just, the kids want to have the healthy relationship with both of you. They don't want to take sides. We shouldn't make them take sides.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The kids don't. That's not what they're about. They want to know that they're loved by both parents. They don't give a crap about all this other stuff. Mm-mm. And the stuff that you're bickering back. First of all, they don't need to know that. I know we talked about that, but it's very hard, especially when you're in the thick of it.
Yeah,
it's very hard. So it's easy for Rod and I to sit here and talk to you about this, but we have been through it, and I'm telling you that it is very hard. But when you come to an end of yourself and say, this is about the kids, like this is our family, we have to work together. If we really do want to thrive, then this can't be about me. This can't be about my bitterness. It can't be about my anger. It's much more than that. And I think the quicker you get to that point, the more communicative that you and your ex-spouse, assuming you're both at that same level,
And that's why, leaving the legal stuff, kids don't need to know. Kids don't really care.
Right.
And I remember my son came to me and he goes, "Daddy, why is your lawyer being so mean?"
Mm.
And it's kind of like, well, wait a minute. First of all, why are you talking to me about my lawyer? You're 7.
Right.
And the only way he would know is that his mother was talking about it. Again, kids need to know a little bit because the divorce does absolutely affect them.
Right.
But share as little as you can. Only things that specifically relate to them. Because, again, they're confused. They're hurting. They're in pain just like you are.
Right.
And put the kids first. Yes, the divorce is happening. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's something you wanted, and maybe it's something that you didn't want. Maybe it came out of
left field.
Yeah. And you weren't really ready. And yeah, you're hurting, but so are the kids.
Right. Yeah. I think if you're, for me personally, being angry and bitter and all that, there was also that numbness where I knew that it wasn't appropriate to talk to him about any of the divorce or the legal aspects of it. So I really did my best to not bring that up because I knew it was pointless. Now Braddox was younger. He was 2 when we got divorced. Mm-hmm. But, there was other stuff that was shared, like, really? Was that told to you? Like, I was confused by a lot of this stuff.
You're 3, you're 4. How do you know this?
Right. And so I think early on, I just think maybe out of my numbness, if that makes sense, I didn't communicate a lot of stuff in that regard, just because I knew it wasn't important to him, and I knew that he wasn't. It didn't matter. Like my focus should be on you. But does that make sense?
It does, and that kind of brings us to that second point that we want to talk about, and that is set and maintain healthy boundaries. And that, again, one of the key components to that of setting and maintaining boundaries is for you. Yeah, you're mad. Yeah, you're angry. Yeah, you're hurting, even numb. But you don't badmouth the ex. I know that is easy for us to do sitting here. I will be straight up and honest. I was not very good at this at the very beginning.
Sure.
A lot of people I know that I've talked to and worked with through divorce, yeah, you're blaming the ex.
Yeah.
Conveniently leaving out your part because, as my granddaddy always said, it takes two to fight.
Yeah.
And you want to blame, because you're hurting, you want to blame the other person, and kids know the other person very well.
Right.
And so it's easy to badmouth the ex. Well, your mom's a piece of shit.
Right.
Or, your dad's whatever.
Deadbeat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, look, that kid is 50% you and 50% the other parent.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be bad-mouthing that your ex in front of the kid,
right,
you're kind of putting putting that kid down, saying, well, dang, half of me must be crap.
right.
I mean, you want to complain about your ex, by all means, please do so.
Do it elsewhere.
Yeah. Over a glass of wine, a bottle of beer.
Right.
But with adult friends.
Never to the children.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's the mental health of the kids should be paramount. You're looking out for their physical well-being.
Right.
So why not look out for their mental health well-being? And again, you're right. In the middle of the crap storm, it is hard to think of somebody other than yourself.
Right. Right.
But our job as parents is to put our kids first.
Right.
And it may take you a couple of weeks to get there.
Right.
But the sooner you can get there, please put kids ahead of your immediate needs.
Yeah. You're in the beginning and you fall in love and it's
sunshine and daffodils.
Yeah, exactly. I probably wouldn't have put it that way, but no, you're exactly right. And then when divorce happens, it's just trigger, and it's just animosity and just some like bitterness and the stuff that just flows out of your mouth is completely opposite from when you first met, right? And I get that. I understand that. But again, back to point 2, those healthy boundaries and not bad-mouthing the ex to your kids. I think if you were to step back and try and put yourself in your children's shoes and then view it from their perspective, although that's a different topic, how would that feel to you?
Yeah.
If you were hearing this about your mom or your dad, what thoughts are being generated in your head based off of the words that are coming out of your mouth? For me, I'll use that word numbness because I was numb. I was like, what is going on? Right. And then having no direction. What am I going to do? Now I've become an every other weekend dad. So those are the thoughts I've had. And, I had family members doing a lot of the bad mouthing for me.
Yeah.
And not that I didn't feed into that. There got to a point where I had to stop that. Like I had to, hey, you're talking about his mom, and you definitely cannot do that in front of it. You're not helping the case whatsoever.
No, you're making it worse. And it's, that leads when you can't stop the bad mouthing the other parent. When you do that, when your anger for your ex far exceeds your love for your child, you're now creating an environment in which you're basically telling the child, you need to pick a parent to love. You can either love me or you can love them, but you can't love us both together.
Right.
And that is absolutely the wrong thing to do.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's a lot of terms for it: hostile aggressive parenting, anti-co-parenting, parental alienation. I mean, there's a lot of different names for it, but it comes down to the fact that you're hurting so much that you can't see past your anger and the damage it's doing to the kids.
Right.
And I've spent a lot of time researching this topic. I wrote my book, For the Love of Eric, where we talked about the experience that I went through and he went through regarding our divorce and how horrible it was, and how his mother really told him the same thing. You can love you can't love your dad and love me at the same time. You have to pick.
Right.
And there are literally tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of kids that are being pushed through this. They say there's approximately 22 million kids going through a divorce in our country or living with divorced families. And there is a huge percentage of them that are being told, you either love mom or you love dad, but you can't love both.
Right.
And it comes back to, look, set and maintain healthy boundaries and realize that, yes, you're a key partner or a part of this divorce, but it's not all about you.
Right. I think it's important to recognize that divorce is like a death, right? It's a death of a marriage, right? It's a loss. And you're going to go through a circle of grief, right? You're going to grieve. You're going to go through anger, stuff that we've talked about. You're going to bargain. You're going to go through this cycle of things, and there's no rhyme or reason to it, or rhyme or rhythm, whatever. But you're going to experience them, and not in order, but at different times, and then at some point down the road, you will come to an acceptance that this is what happened, right?
It's the new reality.
This is the new reality. But just know that it's okay to go through those things. Allow yourself to go through those things. But again, going back to go through it with an adult or a friend, or but not with. Maybe there's certain things that you could go through with your child, but to appropriately, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, the kids are involved. If you can put the kids first,
right,
and put their well-being ahead of yours, then the kids can come through the divorce, come to that acceptance part of it's their new world.
right,
And, now they got two homes.
right,
And they're going to have multiple birthday parties, multiple Christmases, multiple Thanksgivings, whatever. They might wind up with step parents.
right.
We brought kids into this world.
Yeah.
And we want them to thrive and be successful and be the person that they're going to be. And we cannot do that very well as parents if we don't keep in mind that our anger and our hatred for our ex is secondary.
Right. That what you just said, those are our barriers. Those are all barriers that are going to prevent us from creating this new way of living. Like you said, the two of this, the two of that. Like we're living it right now. We got two homes, we've got step parents, and it's taken us a while to get there. But that's what we're doing. That's how we're operating. And I think once you get to that point, right, acceptance, and it's going to look different for everyone, right? Obviously, but like once you get to that point, you can start creating positive steps towards that thriving family dynamic like we've been talking about, right? But I think it's important going back to setting and maintaining healthy boundaries,
Sure.
and not bad mouthing the ex, and then doing your best to speak positive about your spouse, as hard as that possibly could possibly be for some of us, right? There was a time where it was hard for anything positive to come out of my mouth, but once I got there, it actually helped me.
Mm-hmm.
It helped me a lot better, man. There was times where I even would pray for her, and it's like, what, really?
And it wasn't the I pray you have something bad happen.
Right. I pray you disappear. No, because here's what I had to get to. Because my son has a mom. And I want to do my best to foster a healthy relationship with them too. And that happens on my end, where I talk positive. I don't badmouth her. I have those boundaries. I focus on him.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how we're going to operate. This is my vision for our family, and this is what we're going to operate in.
So it's been a few years, but I was sitting at a restaurant one afternoon eating lunch, and at a nearby table were a man and two women. It was mom, dad, and stepmom. They had a calendar, and they were working together on a calendar for the rest of the year. They were talking about summer. They were talking about fall. They were talking about Thanksgiving and Christmas.
That's good.
And they were working together. And, you know, and the mom and the stepmom, I don't know that they were best pals, but they respected each other enough to get along.
Right.
And I don't know, we had lunch there for, about 90 minutes. And they were there when I got there. They were there when I left. But I was so moved by what I witnessed, because I don't see or hear a lot of that.
No.
I literally went up to the table and I said, "Hey, I know you don't know me and I don't know you.
Wow.
But what I am watching you do, what I'm listening to you do, I want to say thank you so much."
Yeah.
Because your kid is benefiting
Absolutely.
from the three of you talking to each other and working with each other. Again, that to me is the epitome of putting kids first.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, and you just did. But exactly, that's all about the kid. I'm going to put my self-centered whatever, my selfishness aside. I'm going to come to an end of myself because it's about the kid at this point. That's operating at a really awesome level.
And that is, to me, again, my ex-wife and I, we never got to that point.
Yeah.
I don't know that we ever would have. I mean, she was the kind of person that Eric and I had gone to church one Sunday, picked up some Girl Scout cookies after church was all over. We didn't get very many eaten while we were together that day. So I said, well, there, take them home with you. You can have them for snacks after school,
Sure.
Take them in your lunch, whatever. When I went to go get him for our next visit later that week, he comes out with a box of cookies. And he says, well, Mommy said because you bought them for me, I can only eat them with you. Okay, that's not putting kids first.
Right.
That's putting you as a parent first. That's putting the kid in the middle.
Yeah.
And
Here's what I learned, and I know you could attest this, is that unfortunately parents will use the kid as a pawn.
As a weapon.
Yeah. And that really sucks. I
work with, we both work with kids as school teachers, and I have heard, I've gotten to the point over the last few years that, I talk to the kids about different things, and we do, I kind of pry into a little bit of, what's going on. And I learn, and they'll, some of them will open up about their experience as a kid of divorced families. And they express a lot of that same frustration of you and I now know, being on the other side of divorce, having survived the upheaval of family, of what our original dream is,
right.
When we were much younger, to the reality of what life has become now. But to hear it from a kid perspective, listening to them explain what it was that they went through,
sure,
was very powerful. So powerful that we're actually going to do a whole podcast episode on divorce.
Don't go too far into that. That's our next episode, and you're just going to have to keep tuning in to us to get more tips on that. But no, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Well, to go back to something you said a little bit ago about divorce being a loss. Absolutely it is.
Yeah.
And when you were talking about the loss, again, all the emotions that you go through when you lose a family member, you lose a pet. I went through all of those.
Yeah.
And I even went through, the bargaining. The bargaining was probably the biggest part because, all right, great. I'm willing to give up a bunch of stuff.
Right.
And, I tried to become more religious. I was going to church a little more. I was praying a little more. And then I didn't get what I wanted.
Yeah.
And at the time, it really challenged my belief in God.
Right.
And because I was on this roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah.
I mean, euphoric highs to depressive lows.
Yeah.
And, and everybody I've ever talked to, again, with the divorce group that I've been part of, I hear a lot of folks talking about that emotional roller coaster.
Right.
And it is so tough. And you get stuck.
Yeah.
You get stuck on this up, down, up, down, up. And it's hard to get to that point where it levels out.
Right.
And you got little rises and little valleys.
Sure.
But it just feels like it takes forever.
Yeah. This is the longest ride I've ever been on, and it sucks.
Yeah, it's not the fun thrill ride that you get at Six Flags or at the amusement park. But I like that you mentioned that it is a loss, because it is. I mean, because when I got married, I got married at 27? And I thought, okay, I was way past my friends when they got married. And I thought, you know what, that's fine. I waited, and I'm older, I'm out of college, and, I took my time and I picked the perfect person for me.
Right.
Yeah, well, obviously my picking sucked because it didn't work out.
Yeah.
Now, maybe it's not my picker, and sometimes you think you go well together.
Right.
But then, things happen.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's your fault, sometimes it's their fault, sometimes, just nobody's fault.
Right.
Life happens, and you do grow apart.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I want to move on to our next point because I want to be mindful of our time.
Oh yeah, sorry.
But no, you're fine. Which is to I know we've mentioned this before, but to make sure that the kids they're the focus of your time and attention. Again, Rod's been saying this: put the kids first. I could tell you that the second time that we went back to court, I was trying to gain more time. And I know the year leading up to it, it's not that I wasn't there, I wasn't present. I like to say this, right? Be where your feet are. Not tomorrow, not in yesterday, not later that night. Be where your feet are right now, especially when you're with your kids. Because, gosh, they grow so dang quick. Braddock's will be 12. But my point is, before we went to court, I spent a year just taking notes, like all the stuff, all the crap that went on, logging this, logging that, writing whatever, you name it, I felt that I could use in court to gain more time with Braddock's, and I felt like I spent more time doing that than actually concentrated time with him. Not that we weren't doing fun things, but that was what was on my mind. And I'm gonna log this. Okay, so this was said about me to him, and blah blah blah, right? Or I had him, whatever, you name it. I was list upon list upon list.
I remember.
Yeah,
they were notebooks.
And you were in court that day, and although it didn't go my way, it felt like a weight was lifted off my back, because I'm like, I'm so tired of making these notes and logs and copying text messages and emails, and some of you know what we're talking about. But even though it didn't go my way, like I said, it was like this weight, and I stopped doing that because, like our third point, he should be the focus. I'm not going to focus on a stupid text that was sent to me that I felt that I could use in a court.
if you go to court expecting it to be fair, I am sorry to say you're going to be sadly disappointed.
Right.
You're not going to get fair and equal and just treatment. Lady Liberty in family court she's not really blindfolded.
Right.
And so as a consequence, trying to get one up or, all that kind of stuff, it comes down to you're in pain. And I get it. We get it.
Yeah.
Hello, been there, done that.
Right.
One of the best things that ever happened that helped me refocus on Eric and trying to not only reduce the peaks and valleys of my roller coaster, but to be able to be there for him.
Right.
I got mental health help. I found a counselor. It took a few tries, but I found a counselor that helped me work through this stuff.
Right.
And as part of our divorce group, one of the things that we strongly encourage is to do just that. Find you a counselor, somebody you can talk to, somebody that, just they're not involved.
Right.
They really don't have a vested interest in who gets how much child support money or how much visitation time, but they are there to help you process the loss, the anger, the frustration, the sadness, the depression,
right?
And help you figure out, okay, what are you where's your pain? Where can we find a way to get you to address the issues? Move past the superficial text message, email, phone call conversation and go to what's really bugging you so that you can get through it.
Right.
And I will say that the lady that I started seeing has been just amazing, helping me come to terms with, again, the loss.
Right.
The loss of the marriage, the loss of the idea of marriage and what I thought would always be there.
Right. Well, and you saying that takes us into our fourth point for today is, and I know we mentioned that, but again, divorce is loss. It's kind of like a death. So you feel many of those different emotions. And just like Rod, you said, seek professional help. It's okay
to say you need help.
It's okay to go through this circle of grief, like bargaining and anger. It's okay to go through those things. It's okay to process through all that, but don't go it alone.
I don't know why, but there seems to be such a social stigma on getting mental health help, seeing a counselor. And you're not a mental midget. You're not a nut job.
Right.
It's okay for a guy to cry over this.
Right. You don't need to grow an extra layer of skin.
And so getting, again, it's a third-party person.
Right.
To maybe get you to think about things that you don't want to consider, to face the, I don't want to say face the music, but to face the reality of what is happening, because it may take two to get married, but it only takes one to get divorced. And so being able to come to terms with that is tough, and the counselor helps.
Sure. It's easy for us, again, because we've been through there, and some of you are like right in the thick of it. But for me to say set your pride aside, it's not that easy, and I get that. I could be stubborn at times, and I get that from my dad.
You can be stubborn.
I don't need you to. Yeah, no, I am, and I've had to work on that, and really, hey, I do need to lay my pride down.
That is so hard.
I need help, and that through a counselor or a support group, like you've mentioned. Those alignments are so key to your success mentally.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so, and then in turn, that greatly benefits your relationship with your child and your ex-spouse, because you're going to think differently. You're going to operate differently because you're getting the help that you need.
You're absolutely right. I did not originally go seeking out mental health help. it was pushed on me. And after my first visit with a mental health doctor, I'm going, holy crap. I really do feel a lot better. Like a load has been lifted. And,
Sure.
from there, with that, along with, like I said earlier, I've been part of the divorce recovery group here in Dallas for a long time. And one of the things that I learned early and quickly was that a lot of the people around me got tired of hearing about my issues. Can't you get over being, just move on with the divorce, just let it go. So again, a support group, a lot of churches have them. Well, the thing that I've been liked most about the group that I've been part of is they never get sick of hearing what you have to say, your complaints of the divorce, somebody to call or text at, 2:00 in the morning.
Right.
So because family do get tired of hearing you complain.
Right. But it's not a one and done thing, and you're miraculously healed, and you're ready to conquer the world. It's a process. Okay, allow yourself to go through that process, and it may take several trips to a mental health counselor, if you will, or a support group. But just know that it may take a while, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's okay.
I think the hardest thing for me was to learn how to be single again. I mean, when I was single, I was in my late teens and early 20s. I was in high school. I was in college. You're in a plethora of single people.
Yeah.
By the time you get into your 30s, 40s, 50s, okay, your social group is greatly narrowed down to a bunch of married people, your coworkers, maybe, the people at church or wherever, your social groups like the Rotary Club or something like that. But to be single again is kind of tough.
Yeah.
And to figure out who you are and what you like, rediscover yourself.
Right.
As you said, it takes time.
Oh, yeah.
But I learned things about me that I didn't know. I rediscovered things.
Yeah.
I went on bike rides with you and nearly died.
And that's the truth. And
which part, the bike rides or the fact that you almost killed me?
Both are very, very factual events. I don't think you. I still have the your voice in my head because every other word was the F word.
Fudge.
No, I nearly killed Rod on our bike ride, and not the place to go. To an expert dirt trail, if you will, on bikes that we just pulled out of the garage
for the first time in
20
many years.
But no, I think that's powerful. I think what a lot of people do is they think, well, I'm going to fill this void, or I'm going to jump back into a relationship. Sometimes when we're not even divorced yet, but we're going to jump in because we think that's going to help fix the situation. But I think what you said is very powerful. You've rediscovered who you are. For me, and I'll be honest with you, I was tired of swiping left or swiping right.
Mm-hmm.
And when I stopped doing that, I'm so out of this dating thing. This is so ridiculous. That's when I started to rediscover things. I started putting things in perspective and prioritizing things. I took care of me. And I knew that I needed to be a healthy me, and then knew that things would fall into place eventually. At least that's what I prayed and believed for.
You're square with that. And, it's for me, when my ex-wife told me that she was separating and see you later, here's your crap, as I opened up the front door, I felt like I had been rejected.
Yeah.
And that hole in me was very wide.
Right.
And the idea that I was being rejected, that song lyric, looking for love in all the wrong places.
Right.
That is a common, I started looking for love in any place I could find it.
Right.
It was tough. And a lot of different people I've talked to over the years, that's kind of what they do. They jump right into one relationship.
Sure.
You know, they went from one bad to another bad to another bad, sometimes quickly remarrying.
Yeah.
And, you know, I have learned through the advice of many people that you can't give 100% of who you are until you know who you are.
Right.
I mean, when like you and I both, it took me a long time to figure this out and to get to this point. But when you are physically healthy,
right,
mentally healthy, when you are financially healthy, emotionally and spiritually happy, when you are in these happy, healthy places, now
it's time.
Exactly.
Now it's time.
Because if you're not there, you're just taking your baggage with you.
Right.
And, you know, same crap, different person.
Right.
And you're going to wind up, again, being hurt, whether you do it or they do it, because you haven't healed.
Right.
I mean, if you keep picking a wound, the wound never heals.
Right.
And same way with divorce.
Yeah. You know, I being from California and then coming to Texas, you got two very different, a little bit off the topic. Not really. I'm going to land the plane, I promise. Moving here from California, I operated with a California mindset.
Meaning what?
Meaning this whole skater, surfer, stoner mentality, right? I don't do that now. But it's different. I'm going to try and get there. When you are, same thing with divorce. Let me go back to the divorce. You guys you were married. Things didn't work out. When you jump right in to another relationships, and sometimes or oftentimes people will marry right away, you're still making those same choices. You're still operating in the same mentality, if you will. Does that make sense now?
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm saying is there were things that needed to change in my attitude with my mindset for moving, right? Same thing with my divorce.
Mm-hmm.
So there were things that needed to change. I could not, and I would not allow myself to bring things from my past marriage into my now new marriage, which is, I would say, doing very well. You know, it's something that, like we said, when we moved from our last house to this house, like what do we need to leave here? What wasn't working for us here that needs to stay? We can't operate that way in our new house. Same thing with in a relationship, right? If this makes sense, hopefully it does. Like you're just going to be in this same vicious cycle. You're going to find yourself divorced again. You're going to You have to take time to heal. You have to take time to reflect. What went wrong?
Thank you.
What did I do wrong? Because guess what? You own a piece of that pie.
It may not be a big piece, but you're right. You played a part in both the success and the failure of that marriage.
Right.
And until you come to grasp or to face that very reality of your part,
right,
then you're just going to carry that on.
Right. I think you have to identify those things. And that's where this taking time for yourself to heal physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and financially, your next relationship is going to greatly benefit because you took the time to heal.
You know, divorce sucks. So why do it again and again and again?
Right. Right. So, folks, we are at the end of our episode 2, Divorce 1 from an adult's perspective. We hope that today you really locked in. You were intentional. You were listening with an active ear, if you will, and you gained some insight from the things that we were talking about today.
Again, it's lessons learned from our mistakes, lessons learned from our trip through family court hell. So anyway, thanks again for being a part of today's broadcast.
Absolutely. We will catch you next time. Episode 3, Divorce 2 from a kid's perspective.
Live long and well.